Section 1.5 is about discrete and continuous data. There are two kinds of variables. The first type is categorical, also called qualitative. Categorical variables classify subjects based on some attribute or characteristic. Each observation belongs to a set of categories. For example, a person can have green, blue, brown, or hazel eyes. So this categorical variable might be named color of eyes. Another example, a person might live in a house, condo, apartment, dorm, etc. This categorical variable might be called type of home. The second type of variable is quantitative. And quantitative variables provide numerical measurements of subjects. The variables take on numerical values on the real line. For example, a person can be 56 inches in height. So a variable with the name height would be a quantitative variable. A person could weigh 132 pounds. And we have a variable called weight. And finally, a person could get a 92 on a test. And this quantitative variable might be called test grade. There are also two kinds of quantitative variables, discrete and continuous. Discrete quantitative variables are numerical measures that are countable numbers. For example, we can count up the number of people in this class, or we can count up the number of words on this page. The second type are continuous quantitative variables. And continuous variables are an uncountable number of values. Continuous variables are usually variables that can take on all values on an interval. For example, height, weight, and temperature. Let's take a look at an example. Identify each of the following as categorical or quantitative variables. If quantitative, identify further as discrete or continuous. The first example, the length of time until a pain reliever begins to work. Well, length of time is numerical, so we know it's quantitative. And length of time can be on an interval and therefore is continuous. The second example, the colors used in a statistics textbook. Well, colors are an attribute or a characteristic. So this is categorical data. And my last example, the number of files on a hard drive. Well, we can count up the number of files on a hard drive. It is a numerical measure, therefore it is quantitative. And since we can count them up, it is discrete. In conclusion, the data gathered from an observational study or designed experiment may be either discrete or continuous, depending on the variable of interest. The distinction between the two is important as it dictates the type of distribution it has and the probability methods we choose to draw conclusions, which we'll see later in the textbook. Looking at the table of contents, you might notice that Chapter 5 is devoted to some important discrete distributions, while Chapter 6 focuses on various continuous distributions.